And they told us all of this in the briefing. And they said that every community has a clinic, a hospital, a maternity hospital. And we went driving because we wanted to see the countryside. And we stopped unannounced in this village and went to the clinic. The doctor was there. He lived upstairs. He wanted to take us up to see his family quarters, but we didn't go. We had too many things we wanted to see that last day before we left, because we were out on our own. Castro let us go anywhere we wanted to go, say anything we wanted to say, which was really quite remarkable. But what they lack, because they don't have any money, is supplies. They lack a lot of medicines. They don't have any steroids. They have few antibiotics. And the supplies, for instance, this little clinic had an EKG machine, and they had had it for over a year, and the paper that came with it didn't fit, so they couldn't use it. But the hospital in that community, they had 3 of these clinics in that little community that was not very big. But they said that the hospital had an EKG machine that worked. They're focusing, the neuroscientists told me that they had begun to focus on children and prevention. Every child is immunized. And when in the schools, when they see a problem with a child, they bring the parent into the school for counseling. They work closely with the parent and with the child. They've begun in-depth study of children's problems. They've studied learning disabilities, dyslexia, autism. These are the mental illnesses they talk to me about with children. And of course, I don't think we consider autism a mental illness. But this is what they do. There's such a low incidence of autism that they decided something must be wrong with the statistics. So they looked up all of the cases of children who were acting out, they said, but didn't have any hearing problem, because lots of times if they had a hearing problem, they didn't know what was going on and they were a little unruly. They got all of these children that they and tested them again, thinking that maybe they were autistic, and they have not finished that. They're working on that. But what they said was that the island is small, people don't move. Everybody has a house. You don't see the poverty that we see. We have programs in 35 African countries, health and agriculture and conflict resolution and so forth, and there's dire poverty. And there's poverty in our inner city. You don't see that. Everybody has a home, but they have no freedom of assembly, no freedom of speech. They never have any information about what happened before 1959, was it, when Castro came to power. Of course, I suppose they've rewritten the history books, but they don't know what's going on in the outside world. They didn't have any idea who Jimmy Carter was before we got there. It's kind of interesting because everywhere we went with Castro, he was Fidel, and just applaud him. But nobody knew Jimmy Carter. But after he made his speech, they applauded Jimmy Carter where we went, which I thought was really wonderful because he really criticized the government. And it was the first time these people had ever heard one word of criticism of the government. They don't have any idea what else is going on. And I guess they're a little bit satisfied because they have a house and because they have a little package of food every week. They have food stamps. They might have one shirt. We rode around the countryside with the man from the United Nations Development Program, UNDP. His name was Louis. He'd been there 3 years. He'd been in every province but one. He knew the people intimately. And Castro just let us go off with him. Nobody sheltering us or tailing us. And we stopped along and talked to people everywhere we went. We went to the farmers market. They do have some private enterprise. They after the Soviets left, people became sick. They didn't have enough to eat, and they didn't have the right kind of food. They had rice and bread, but they didn't have vegetables or vitamins or proteins. They all got sick. So the government started passing out vitamin pills to every family and got them to grow vegetables. And he let 250,000 farmers have their own plots to grow food on. Well, once they got over that hump a little bit. By 1995, they were coming out of it. He cut it down to 150,000, but Louis told us that it was building back up now, and his job from UNDP is to encourage private enterprise, and evidently the government looks the other way because he's doing it, like getting 2 or 3 families together to work on something, which was a surprise to us. Well, it was interesting. Jimmy's always been against the embargo. George Bush knew that. It was not anything new to him. We talked to him. He gave us permission to go. I don't know whether he liked it, whether he wanted us to go or not, but he gave us permission to go. And I was glad we went, because I think meeting with the dissidents who had never had a voice and hearing them, one of them said, "Mr. President, your words were like music to my ears." It was really wonderful. And it was funny things too. One of the Secret Service agents was walking down along the river, and people fishing all along. He asked this, and he speaks fluent Spanish, and he asked this man if he caught any fish, and he said, "No, all the fish went to Miami too." And Castro, everybody said that he's really personable, and he has a sense of humor. In fact, Jimmy was in the car with him driving to say goodbye, and Jimmy said something happened, and they were laughing. He and Castro were laughing. Castro said, "We better quit smiling before we get out of the car. People will think I'm happy for you to be leaving." Well, it was an interesting trip, and I was proud of him. And I know that today President Bush made some statements tightening, I think, the embargo and possibly cutting down on travel. But there's just a disagreement there, and he knows it, and we're still good friends with him. And so I think it was important for him to go. Well, in closing, let me say that you, NAMI Louisville, and Caritas Peace Center, by your deeds to raise awareness of the facts about mental illness, are helping make life better for so many people who suffer. And in doing so, you make life better for all your citizens. I'm honored to be here. Thank you.